All right, today we are cracking open a genealogical cold case that's been sitting unsolved for 200 years. This is the story of one single Greek family, the Fatouros clan, and how a few scattered clues from all over the globe can reveal this incredible story of survival, of migration, and really of identity. So let's get digging.
So here's the big question driving this whole thing. How in the world do you find someone's ancestors when all the records are just gone? When the pieces of the puzzle are missing, maybe they were destroyed or, maybe they were never even made in the first place. This is about more than just filling in a family tree. It's about bringing these forgotten lives back into the light, using nothing but the faintest echoes they left behind. Okay, meet our guy, Was Estathius Faturos. He was born on the Greek island of Lefkada right around the year 1800. Now, who were his parents? No idea. His grandfather? A complete mystery. The trail goes cold almost the second it starts. So to find him, we have to start somewhere else. We've got to understand the absolutely chaotic world he was born into. So, our investigation doesn't begin with a person. It actually begins with a time and a place. Because before we can even hope to find Estathios, we have to wrap our heads around the political mess that was his life.
I mean, just look at this timeline. In less than 20 years, the island of Lefkada was passed around between the Venetians, the French, a Russo-Turkish alliance, a brand new Greek republic, the French again, and then finally the British. Estathios was born right in the middle of this imperial whiplash. Can you even imagine trying to keep government records straight, let alone just live a normal life through all of that? It was, for all intents and purposes, impossible.
So with all the civil records in complete chaos, there was really only one institution left that was a constant source of identity: the Orthodox Church. For things like births, marriages, deaths, the local church was the bedrock. And that, right there, is where our first real clues start to pop up. Okay, but before we dive headfirst into those church records, we need to understand the family itself. You see, the clues to their status, to their multi-generational strategy for success, they're kind of hidden in plain sight. They're right there in their name and in the village they called home. The family name itself is our first huge clue. Ftoros comes from the Venetian Italian word fattore. Now, what does that mean? It means estate manager. This was not a simple farmer. A fattore was a powerful administrator, a steward who was in charge of an entire estate agricultural output. This tells us right off the bat that this family was connected to the Venetian elite who ruled the island for centuries. Their identity was built on management and power. And then you've got the family's village, Evgiros. Now, this was not some sleepy little hamlet. It was an industrial hub. It had 8 olive oil mills. That's basically the 19th century version of a factory town. If you owned or managed one of those mills, you had serious wealth and serious power. So we know our guy, Estathios, he wasn't just some peasant. He came from a family that was right at the heart of this whole economic engine. So we've got a powerful family name and an industrious hometown. But now we need some hard evidence. Let's get to the first concrete clues that were found right there on the island of Lefkada. And here it is. This is our first major breakthrough. Tucked away in some old church records, from the exact year Estathios was born, we find a mention of the Andreas Faturos family being a significant benefactor. This is huge. It means they were wealthy, they were prominent, and they were respected at the absolute perfect time and place. And here's why that little clue matters so much. In Orthodox tradition, a major benefactor was almost always a mature, wealthy head of a household. This tells us that Andreas was probably born around 1770, which makes him the absolute perfect age to be Estathius' father, or maybe his uncle. We finally have a potential link to the previous generation. Now, the next clue isn't a document at all. It's a cultural code. And honestly, this is the key that is going to unlock this entire mystery. We're talking about the super strict Greek Orthodox naming pattern, which basically functions like a predictable algorithm passed down from one generation to the next. So here's the secret code. It's simple. The firstborn son is almost always named after his father's father, his paternal grandfather. What this does is create this predictable, alternating pattern. So if your name is Estathios, your first son gets named after your dad. Let's call him Spiridon. And what about his first son? Well, he gets named Estathios again. See? It's like clockwork. So if we can just find the names of Estathios' descendants, we can basically reverse engineer this code to figure out who his father and grandfather were. But just as we find this incredible key, the trail in Greece goes cold. The next breakthrough doesn't come from Lefkada at all. It comes from the diaspora. That is, from family members who left Greece and spread across the world, carrying that naming code with them, perfectly preserved like a message in a bottle. So our search takes us all the way to Melbourne, Australia, and there we find a record for a Sparrows Peter Furus. Now, Sparrows is a really common nickname for Spiridon, and his father's name? Petrus. Suddenly, bam, we have two key ancestral names confirmed by the diaspora, Spiridon and Petrus. This is that naming pattern in action, linking a man in Australia directly back to that tiny village in Greece. But the absolute last piece of evidence comes from halfway across the world, in South Africa. And it's something so simple, a city directory from 1950. In the city of Durban, two men from the Fatouros family are listed as neighbors. And their names, well, their names are the smoking gun. And there it is, Fatouros A and Fatouros P, living right next door to each other. Now, in a Greek family, following this tradition, there is almost zero doubt what those initials stand for, Petros and Estathios. It's a genealogical echo, perfectly preserved across 150 years and 7,000 miles. The name of our mystery man, Estathios, it survived, passed down faithfully through all those generations. And just like that, we have all the pieces. We have the wealthy benefactor from the church records, we have the unbreakable naming algorithm, and we have the echoes from Australia and South Africa. The 200-year-old mystery is finally solved. So here it is, the reconstructed lineage. Using that naming pattern, we can confidently work our way back in time. It all starts with an Estathios the Elder, born way back in the 1740s, who probably established the family's fortune. His son was almost certainly Andreas, the church benefactor from our records. Then, of course, comes our subject, Estathios, born around 1800, who ran the olive mills, the engine of their wealth. His son was Spiridon, and his grandsons, Petrus and Aristides, anchored the family in Greece, while their cousins carried those exact same names, Sparrows and Estathios, to new lives in Australia and South Africa. And what this whole thing reveals isn't just a family tree. It's a deliberate, three-part survival strategy. Part 1, hold on to the land. Those olive mills were their source of constant capital. Part 2, professionalize. They sent sons to Athens to become lawyers, turning that land power into legal and political influence. And Part 3, diversify. They sent younger sons to build totally new futures in places like Australia and South Africa. It was a pretty brilliant plan for long-term prosperity. You know, the story of the Ftoros clan is just such a powerful reminder that our own history is so often hidden in plain sight, in a last name, in a hometown, or in a family tradition that we might not even think twice about. And it leaves us with one final question to think about. What clues about your own family's journey are just sitting there, waiting for you to discover them?